He's undefeated. They think that he can walk through everybody. You're not gonna walk through me. So I was calling him out. And then he posted like a pony yesterday, and he's like,
I saw that.
where are you going, pony? I was like,
I didn't quite get it.
I didn't know if it was like a patty, you know, you little sausage or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take that as disrespect, bro.
Yeah,
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
I asked for the fight.
Is there no Muslim Brotherhood connection there with Khamzat? He seems like a bit of an outlier in the Muslim Brotherhood world. Like he had beef with Abu Bakr too, right?
Yeah, he had beef with their team,
And
but I
Khabib
think
had to squash it.
So like I haven't trained with those guys. I haven't like sweated, bled with those guys. So it's not the same thing.
The beef between Khamzat Chimaev and Belal Muhammad continues to grow as the Russian fighter has once again taken a dig at the now former middleweight champion. Belal Muhammad lost his belt in the recent event of UFC 315 against Jack Della Maddalena in a close fight. Khamzat Chimaev mocked Belal for losing the belt and shared a struggling image of Belal Muhammad, saying he is crying again. Some fans criticized Khamzat for making fun of his Muslim brother, but Khamzat Chimaev questioned the idea of brotherhood between him and Belal Muhammad. He said that if someone calls him a brother, they should act like one. For Khamzat, being Muslim doesn't automatically mean someone is close to him. He values honesty and loyalty and made it clear that he doesn't support people he sees as fake, even if they support the same causes, like Palestine. Khamzat Chimaev stated, "Yes, he calls me Muslim brother. Then he goes saying he wants to beat me, so should I be nice to you? I like real people, not fake. If you call my brother, you should be my brother. I always support Palestine, but I never support fake people." On the other hand, Belal Muhammad made it clear that there's nothing personal between him and Khamzat Chimaev. He explained that the reason he called Khamzat out is because he sees it as a tough and exciting matchup. Belal said he wants to fight the best fighters in the world. When Khamzat was still in the welterweight division, Belal was already asking for that fight. He said it wasn't out of hatred or any personal issues. He just wanted to challenge himself and show everyone that he's one of the best fighters in the world.
For me, target's on Jack right now, right? I get through Jack and then we talk. Obviously, like you said, Khamzat likes to talk. He likes to chatter. He likes to put his name in the mix. And I'm going to respond. I want all the smoke, right? I want to fight the best guys in the world. When he was at 170, I was asking for him. I wanted to fight him. And it wasn't personal. It was like, I want to challenge myself. I want to show you guys that I'm the best guy. Whenever you talk about the best guys, best fighters in the UFC right now, my name needs to be at the top of the list.
Belal Muhammad said that when Khamzat Chimaev was still in the welterweight division, he was always one of the opponents Belal wanted to fight. He explained that he's constantly looking for the toughest challenges and best matchups, and he believes he matches up well stylistically with someone like Khamzat. Belal also predicted that Khamzat would defeat Dricus du Plessis and become champion when they eventually fight.
Khamzat when he was 170, like I was one of those fights that I was always looking for, right? I'm always looking for the toughest challenge, the best fight. And especially for him, stylistically, I think I match up very well with him and a guy like him. And I do think he will walk through du Plessis and he will be the champion whenever they do fight.
Belal also revealed how to beat Khamzat, as he thinks the key is surviving the early storm. He noted that Khamzat comes out extremely aggressive in the first round, like a missile, and many fighters can't handle that pressure. For Belal, the plan would be to survive the early rounds, then push the pace later in the fight, specifically in the 4th and 5th rounds, to wear Khamzat down and see how he holds up.
What do you think? What do you think is the key to beating him?
He goes so hard in that first round, and he comes out like a freaking a missile. So it's like, all right, we got to weather this storm. We got to get through it. And it's a lot of guys that can't get through it. It's hard. But for me, it's just taking him to the later rounds, and then you start picking it up in the later rounds, start drowning him in the later rounds, and then we see where he's at in the 4th and 5th round.
Belal Muhammad said there's no personal beef with Khamzat Chimaev, as he's been calling him out since they were both in the welterweight division. He wore a shirt to an event calling Khamzat out and threw some to the crowd, saying Chimaev might be undefeated, but he wouldn't walk through him. Belal also responded to a recent post from Khamzat calling him a pony. He didn't fully get the insult, but said it doesn't matter, as he's been asking for the fight and still wants it.
In an interview, they're like, would you move up to 85 if Khamzat was champion? And I said, bro, I was calling him out when I was at welterweight. When he was welterweight, I literally wore that shirt to the event. And I had shirts I was throwing out to the crowd. He's undefeated. They think that he can walk through everybody. You're not going to walk through me. So I was calling him out. And then he posted like a pony yesterday, and he's like,
I saw that.
where are you going, pony? I was like,
I didn't quite get it.
I didn't know if it was like a patty, you know, you little sausage or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm going to take that as disrespect, bro. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Belal Muhammad clarified that his bond with Khabib and his team is based on more than just just a shared Muslim identity. He emphasized that it's not the same as his relationship with Khamzat Chimaev, who he doesn't share that same personal connection with. Although both are Muslim, Belal hasn't trained or fought alongside Khamzat, so the bond isn't the same. For him, it's all about competition, as he sees himself as the champion and wants what Khamzat has.
Is there no Muslim Brotherhood connection there with Khamzat? He seems like a bit of an outlier in the Muslim, like, Brotherhood world. Like, he had beef with Abu Bakr too, right?
Yeah, he had beef with their team,
And
but I think
Khabib had to squash it.
They squashed it. Yeah, I think, and like for myself, it's not beef. Like
Yeah.
even if I fight Shafka, he's Muslim too. So, like I haven't trained with those guys. I haven't like sweated, bled with those guys. So it's not the same thing. And for me, I look at it as a sport. Like, they all want what I have. I'm the champion, so I want what they have. Right? Like he's got that undefeated streak. I want to take that from him. I want to take his O from him. So it's all competition.
Meanwhile, the fans witnessed a thrilling encounter between Belal and JDM at UFC 315. Although Belal lost the fight and belt, he impressed with his incredible performance and wrestling skills. UFC legend Michael Bisping believes Belal Muhammad's stock has risen even after his loss at UFC 315. While he didn't leave with the belt, Bisping said Belal's performance gained respect and, in a surprising way, boosted his reputation as a fighter despite not becoming champion.
Yes, Belal lost the belt, but I think his stock, in a weird way, has risen higher, even though he's not a champion. Let me know what you think about that comment, because that sounds crazy, but I think in terms of general perception from the fans, they now have more respect for Belal Muhammad.
Matt Brown doesn't believe Belal Muhammad lost to Jack Della Maddalena at UFC 315 simply because of a bad game plan. In his view, Belal didn't really have other options as his wrestling wasn't working, and he was stuck. Brown praised Belal's toughness and heart, especially his ability to take big shots, calling his chin incredible. But ultimately, he felt Jack had an answer for everything Belal tried. Belal's team might rethink their strategy in hindsight. Brown said it likely wouldn't have made a difference as Jack was just too prepared.
That wasn't going to be the way. He didn't have another option. Like his wrestling wasn't another option. So, I mean, he was just stuck in between a rock and a hard place, you know, but, you know, he warriored through it in an amazing way. You know, what a chin on Belal, right? Like the dude has just got a chin from hell, man. But it's almost an irrelevant question, to be honest, because it didn't matter what his game plan was. Like Jack had an answer for everything that he did. Now, yeah, if you're on Belal's camp, you're probably looking back saying, okay, we probably could have game planned differently, but it's hard to imagine that would have changed anything. You know, when you go back to the drawing board for Belal, you got a lot of drawing to do, you know, when you're looking at a Jack Della Maddalena fight.
Matt Brown believes there's plenty for Belal Muhammad to take away from the fight, but even with improvements, he's unsure if it would ever be enough to beat Jack Della Maddalena. Sometimes it's simply about the matchup, and in this case, Jack's style and execution were spot on. While there's been a lot of talk about Belal's lack of a strong game plan, Brown pointed out that Jack had a near-perfect one and followed through with it flawlessly.
Belal has a lot to learn from on this fight. He's got a lot that I think he can go back and look at and improve on. I just don't know if it's ever going to be enough to beat Jack the way that, you know, the way the fight went the other night. Like, I'm not sure if there's anything he can do matchup wise. And sometimes that's the big thing, is just the matchup. And, you know, and the fact is Jack had a perfect game plan. You know, we could talk about Belal's, lack of game plan all day, but you know, look, Jack had a perfect game plan. Like, he executed extremely well the entire fight.
On the other hand, Daniel Cormier broke down Belal Muhammad's performance, highlighting that he didn't give up a single takedown until the 4th round. At first, Cormier questioned Belal's decision to strike with Jack Della Maddalena, but later acknowledged that Jack's stand-up looked so sharp that Belal may not have had much of a choice. He pointed out how often Jack's right hand landed and said that Belal's toughness likely kept him from being finished. More than anything, Cormier was impressed by Jack's relentless desire to fight and his strong takedown defense.
He gave up 0 takedowns until the 4th round. I was talking about Belal in the fight saying he was fighting the wrong fight because he was standing and trading with Della Maddalena. But the reality is, I don't think he had an option to do anything but stand and trade with Jack Della Maddalena because he looked that good. His right hand landed so many times over the course of this fight. And if Belal didn't have such a great chin, he would have been put out. I think what impressed me the most, still, outside of the takedown defense, was his willingness to fight.
Daniel Cormier praised Jack Della Maddalena for his outstanding performance and for capturing the UFC welterweight title, but he pointed out that the celebration wouldn't last long, as the UFC had already announced that Islam Makhachev would be next if Jack won. Cormier highlighted the magnitude of the potential matchup, putting the #1 pound-for-pound fighter against an undefeated rising star riding an 18-fight win streak. He also noted that Jack's ability to beat a high-level wrestler like Belal Muhammad and showcase strong takedown defense proved he's ready for the next big step.
He fought a wonderful fight, and now he is the UFC welterweight champion. And you would think that when you get a big win like that, there's a lot of time to celebrate. Unfortunately for Jack Della, right away he gets Islam Makhachev. The UFC said the other day at the press conference, Jack Della wins, Makhachev will go up and fight Jack Della Maddalena for the welterweight championship of the world. #1 pound-for-pound guy in the world, and Della Maddalena will fly up those pound-for-pound rankings. This is an undefeated guy in the UFC, a guy that has not lost in 18 straight fights now, a guy that's carrying confidence of beating a guy like Belal Muhammad. If there's a guy to fight before you fight Islam, it's a guy like Belal who wrestles and uses it as his main tool and be able to defend in the way that Jack Della did.
Ariel Helwani believes Belal Muhammad should be proud of his performance. Despite enduring heavy punches and damage, Belal kept pushing forward and never gave up. Helwani emphasizes that Belal deserves a great deal of respect for his perseverance. He also dismisses the idea that Belal is one of the worst champions ever, calling it nonsense and unfair. Helwani points out that Belal has had an impressive run in the welterweight division. Ariel Helwani stated, "Belal Muhammad needs to hold his head high and be extremely proud of how he fought, the punches that he took, the damage that he took, and he kept on coming and didn't give up. Belal deserves a lot of respect. The notion that he's one of the worst champions ever is absolute nonsense. It's unfair. He's had an incredible time at welterweight thus far." Meanwhile, Sean Brady analyzed the potential fight between Jack Della Maddalena and Islam Makhachev, predicting that JDM will make the matchup more competitive than many expect. He highlighted Jack's versatility, noting that he's effective both as a southpaw and orthodox fighter. Brady also praised Jack's takedown defense, emphasizing his ability to create scrambles and quickly return to his feet. He believes Jack will be able to hang around in the fight longer than most people anticipate.
By the way, who do you like, JDM or Islam?
I think JDM's going to make it a lot more interesting than what people will think it would be.
Wow.
He fights as good as he does, southpaw, orthodox. He's hard to take down. Like I said, he scrambles very he just has this ability to create these scrambles and getting right back to his feet. He started working with Craig Jones. Craig's known for doing like unorthodox stuff like that, and it definitely added to his game plan and his weapons. I seen Craig in the back, and obviously me and him grappled before. We were like hugging each other. I was like, I'm gonna see you sooner than we thought. So hopefully I see him in the corner against me soon. But yeah, I think Jack's gonna hang around for a little bit longer than people think.
Sean Brady further weighed in on the idea of Islam Makhachev moving up to welterweight to fight Jack Della Maddalena. He said he'd rather see Islam stay at lightweight and finish his business there, especially after already facing Volkanovski twice. While he sees the potential in Islam competing at welterweight, Brady pointed out that jumping between divisions without long-term commitment could slow things down in both weight classes. If Islam does make the move, Brady thinks a matchup with Ian Gary would be a logical next step.
How do you feel if in fact they go with Islam versus Jack next? Are you okay with that? Are you okay with Islam getting the title shot?
Sorry, someone's calling me. You still got me?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, like you guys said, I would rather see him stay where he's at, and kind of clean out 155. The whole double champ thing is hard, especially when two of his fights were against Volkanovski, and then he does have Dustin Poirier, but there's still guys at 155. And then you have Ilya trying to come up. But then again, on the other hand, he's done so much. If he wants to move up, if he's going to move up, is he going to stay there, though? Because if not, now you're holding up two divisions. So if he's going to move up, then me and Ian are fighting. Like, I know, like, that's the fight to make. And Yeah, that's just the way I see it.
Ian Machado Gary also responded to the possibility of Islam Makhachev moving up to welterweight by acknowledging the current champion Jack Della Maddalena. While he recognized Jack's performance, he also pointed out that it was a bit sloppy. Ian emphasized that if Islam does move up to 170 pounds, the entire division would need to respect his achievements. However, if the fight with Islam doesn't happen, Ian makes it clear that he's ready to take charge, pursue the title, and believes he would easily outbox Jack, confidently claiming he would dominate the fight.
You've got the new champion Jack Della Maddalena, the Aussie, great performance, but sloppy. The rumour is Islam Makhachev is moving up to 170, and if he does, then all of us welterweights have to take a step back and give the man the respect he deserves. But if negotiations don't go so well, then you've got a tall, blonde Irishman who's ready to take over the UFC and get that belt, and I will smoke Jack Della Maddalena. I'll box the ears off him.
MMA analyst Luke Thomas commended Jack Della Maddalena's striking, acknowledging that he was clearly the better fighter, though he noted that Belal Muhammad exceeded expectations. However, Thomas pointed out some defensive flaws in JDM's game, particularly his risky takedown attempts. He cautioned that these mistakes could be costly against Islam Makhachev, who is known for his strategic, mistake-free fighting style.
You knew the striking prowess of JDM, if he could just have enough time to get it going, would be enough. I think Muhammad somewhat overperformed relative to expectations, but in the end, JDM was better. But the defensive lapses, to me, I know we have to focus on like how good JDM is as a striker, but what could have cost him here was the incompleteness of his defense. And to me, he took a quantum leap forward today in showing how good that was. Now, again, trying to turn that defense into offense by trying to go for some of those ill-advised takedowns, especially in the fifth, and then you're getting kind of lateral dropped for it. You do that against Islam, and I think that's a huge mistake. Islam just doesn't make a lot of mistakes, right? He doesn't necessarily have, at times, always the flashiest offense. I mean, he does have very good offense. We're talking about the pound-for-pound #1 guy in the sport. But what really defines him is that he makes very, very good decisions.
Luke Thomas expressed enthusiasm about the idea of Islam Makhachev moving up to welterweight, while he acknowledged that a fight between Islam and Ilia Topuria might be the biggest matchup in MMA right now. He believes Islam competing at 170 pounds could be something truly unique. Thomas noted that it might not live up to expectations, but the chance for Islam to become a two-division champion is a huge opportunity and could be a historic accomplishment.
Islam up at 170 to me is exciting. I know what everyone's going to say. Oh my God, the best fight you could have made in MMA was Ilia versus Islam. I'm not denying it. I'm not in any way asking you to feel differently about what was the best fight that could be made. But here's what I am trying to tell you. Islam up at 170 could be something really special. It could fizzle too, but I'm trying to point out the positives. It could be really special. For him to become a double champ could be a very big deal.
Former English MMA fighter Dan Hardy was also highly impressed with Jack Della Maddalena's performance and celebrated the fact that another title was brought back to Australia. He's long admired Jack's boxing, but felt this fight showed a clear evolution in his skills. Hardy highlighted Jack's near-perfect takedown defense and sharp footwork, adding that he didn't just rely on toughness and conditioning. He came in with a smart, well-prepared game plan specifically designed for Belal Muhammad.
What was your reaction when you saw he was able to do it, man, and bring another belt back to Australia?
I was so impressed. I mean, we've discussed Della Maddalena before. I'm a big fan of his boxing, and I like you said, he looked like he'd leveled up. I mean, his takedown defense was near impenetrable. I thought his footwork was very, very good as well. Not that it isn't always, but I think it was way more prepared for Belal than I expected it to be. I thought he'd come in as a tough, durable, conditioned version of himself, whereas he actually was very, very tailored towards what he expected from Belal.
Dan Hardy expressed excitement about the potential matchup between Islam Makhachev and Jack Della Maddalena, calling it one of the best super fights currently, second only to John Jones versus Tom Aspinall. He acknowledged that Makhachev doesn't intend to give up his lightweight title, but raised questions about how that will play out with the UFC, considering the promotion seems to be moving away from allowing fighters to hold two belts simultaneously.
I thought he was very, very impressive. It would be awesome to see Makhachev move up and fight him. I do know I did see that Makhachev said he's not gonna relinquish his lightweight belt. So I don't know how that's going to fly with the UFC, because I think they're putting a stop on double champs now, aren't they? But it would be a fight I would love to see. You know, that's probably one of the best super fights you could make right now, aside from, you know, obviously John Jones against Tom Aspinall, which is the blockbuster.
As tensions rise between Khamzat Chimaev and Belal Muhammad, and the welterweight division continues to heat up with potential super fights on the horizon, the UFC landscape has never been more compelling. From Jack Della Maddalena's breakout championship moment to the looming question of Islam Makhachev's next move, the road ahead is packed with high-stakes matchups, unresolved rivalries, and championship aspirations. Whether it's personal or professional, every fighter has something to prove, and the fans are here for all of it.